components. You could also place this in a subfolder which you name source if you want. And in that folder, I will add my fetch location component. It'll be a very simple one, but I want to show you that you can and that you will build your own components in React Native apps. Now here, I first of all will import React from React. So not React Native, just React. And then create a constant fetch location, which gets props and returns a function body. So that's just a functional component I'm creating here. And I'll export fetch location as the default of this file. And in there, I will return some JSX in my function. Now here I want to return a button. And therefore this is of course a very simple component. Does it make sense to just wrap a button? Maybe, we'll do it here. So I'll import my button from React Native. And then I can simply add it here. Button is a self-closing tag, that's important. It needs a title property to know which text to display. Here I'll write get location. And then it needs an onPress handler. Now in React for web projects, you would have onClick here to react to clicks. Now it's just onPress here to react to user touch events, to press events. And there, I don't want to handle this event in this file. I'll instead call some method I expect to get via props. So here I'll call on get location maybe. So I need to set a prop on the component when I use it and then hook it up to a method there. So let's use fetch location in app.js. There I will import fetch location with a capital F as it's the convention for custom components from /components fetch location. And then instead my text here, instead of that, I'll add fetch location. And now important, we need to set that on get location prop on that. So on get location prop should now refer to a method that then gets executed. So above the render method, I'll add a new method, get user location handler maybe. I'll use this syntax where I assign an arrow function to a property to make sure that this always refers to my class. And then here I'll bind this get user location as a handler. Now if we save that, we reload, it should live reload. I'm not sure why it's not doing that, but anyways. If we save that, we should see that button. Now that button alone won't do much right now. Let's now simply log something to the console. Pressed the button. The question just is, how do we see the console now? We're not in a browser. Well, the cool thing is, if you open the developer tools, you can debug JavaScript remotely. This will open up a new browser tab. It should do so at least. Here I position it next to my simulator. And there you can open the developer tools. And now you will see the console log from your device here, which of course is cool for debugging. There's of course more you can do with debugging, and you'll find more information on that, as well as on React Native in general, in my Udemy course, to which you'll find a link in the video description. But for now, let's keep it as it is here. And now of course I don't want to log here, I want to get the user location, right? To get that location, we need to call some method probably. And here React Native actually exposes a web API to us. If we have a look at the official React Native docs, you will see that under guides, there is this JavaScript environment point. And there you find information about all the features all the JavaScript features you can use in your React Native app. Because it's not running in the browser. So you can't use the same features as in, let's say, the latest version of Chrome. Instead, it runs in a JavaScript environment spun up by React Native. So React Native decides which features you can use. Here you can find that information. And here you will find that there is a navigator geolocation object you can access. It's the same object you can use in the browser to get the user location. So here we can use navigator geolocation and then call getCurrentPosition. This method expects two arguments. The first one is a callback function. Here I'll use an arrow function where I get the user position. So I'll log this to the console. And the second argument is an arrow function in case we got some, well, error. Now if we save this and we go back to our application and we reload the app and click that button, the app actually crashes. Now this happens because we don't have the permission to get the user position. And if we don't even tell our app that we will eventually need this permission, it will just crash. So what you can and should do is access the documentation on Navigator geolocation here in the React Native docs. And there you see how to set up the permissions on iOS, where you will basically need to edit the info plist file. And on Android, where you need to copy that entry here, this element, this uses permissions element, to your Android manifest. So here you can access the Android folder, go to app, go to source, and then to Android manifest. And there you see two permission entries, and you can copy that one into there. And you see we try to access the user location here in the end. Now with that entry, we basically make Android aware of that permission which our app eventually needs. And it would show that permission when we install it for the App Store. So now with that added, if we reload the app, it will still crash, because what we will need to do here after we edited the manifest, run Android. This will trigger a full rebuild, which we need here to ensure that our new Android manifest is taken into account. So let's make sure this happens. This will install a new version of the app. And thereafter, you can see I click this and I get objects being printed here on the right. And these, by the way, are not my real coordinates. Now, it might still fail at this point and give you some error saying that it timed out. In this case, you should go to the settings of your simulator by clicking the three dots here, and then to location, and send a location to the simulator, and also try going to settings and disable use detected ADB location and turn it back on. Also, waiting for just a minute or so sometimes resolves the issue, and thereafter you should be able to get a user location here. Now with that, we have a location. We want to display it on a map, right? So we need a map. Now there is no map built into React Native. If we have a look at the official docs and we scroll down to the components, you, at least at the point of time of recording this, won't find a map here. So we need a map, and there is a third-party library we can use. If you Google for React Native maps, you will find this library maintained by Airbnb. Airbnb uses React Native in their app, and they basically built this library which wraps the Google Maps and Apple Maps SDKs and gives you components you can use in your React Native app. And these components really will hook into the native code and give you access to the native code features, though for you with a nice JavaScript interface. You should visit the installation instructions the first time you are here. And there you see that first of all, we install it like any other JavaScript library with npm install. So let's do that. Let's run this command in our terminal in our project. And this will download React Native Maps and add it to the Node modules folder. Now, once this completes, we can also have a look at the next steps. Because since this library will actually hook into native device features using the native Maps SDKs, we need to link it to our apps. You can do that automatically with this command, though for this to work, you first of all need to run npm install -g React Native to have this tool available globally on your machine. But I will show you the manual linking way. Here are the explanations for iOS. I recommend the last way, option 3. And the steps here should be really clear on how to do this in Xcode. For Android, we follow these steps. And there, first of all, we take that code here and compile our project, our React Native Maps project. Now for that, you need Google Play Services installed, so make sure you checked this in your SDK manager in your Android Studio. And then just go to your Android folder, and there to the app folder, and there to the build Gradle file. And important, there is another build Gradle file, one level above that. Don't go in there, go into the one in the app folder. Then if you scroll down, you will find a dependencies object, this one, and there simply add this new entry, compile project React Native Maps. The next step is that we copy these two lines here and go to Android settings Gradle. So now this is directly in the Android folder, this file, and just paste them in at the end of that file. You may close that file thereafter. Next, you need a Maps API key. That's important. You're going to use the Google Maps API behind the scenes, and to be able to use it, you need a key. Now you can follow the link you see here. This should take you to the Google API console. You need to be logged in for that. There, you should then choose a project here at the dropdown at the top. And then you can generate new credentials, a new API key. Now here I already got one, so I'll just copy that. You will now need to add a new entry to the application element in your Android manifest XML file. So let's go back to our project, app, source, Android manifest. And here in application, I'll temporarily store my key and then copy that metadata item. Don't overwrite the full application, just add this item here, and then take your key and replace your Google Maps API key with that. Don't replace this here, this has to stay as it is, just the other part. With that, let's close that. And now there's one additional thing we need to do besides ensuring that we have Google Play services installed. Go down a little bit further and take this import here. And now go to the Java folder in app source main Java, to main application, and add this import here below the other imports. And then take the new maps package code here, and in the same file scroll down to the get packages function, add a comma after main React package, and add this entry. And with that, you should have everything you need to work with maps. Now let's see if that's the case. Let's first of all create a new component, and I'll name it usersMap.js. I'll import React in here from React, and I'll create my usersMap method where I receive props, and then where I simply have a function where I return JSX. And I will export usersMap as the default here, like this. And now in there, I want to use a view. So I'll import view from React Native. Like this, add it, because a view always makes up for a great container. I also want to import style sheet to define some styles thereafter. And I want to import my map. So I will import map view. That's simply how the component is named, though you could name this whatever you want. It's a default export from the package from React Native maps. And with that, we can add a map inside our view here. So I can add a map view here, self-closing element. And this map view here needs some styling. So I'll create a new constant below my functional component, which I'll name styles, where I use style sheet create and pass our object to it. And there I'll for one create a new property named map container that will hold the styles the view receives. And here I simply want to use width 100%. Needs to be wrapped in quotation marks then. And height maybe 200. This will be pixels automatically. Don't add a unit here. And then I'll add my map property, where I will simply set width to 100% and height to 100% to take the width and height of the container. Now for the view here, I'll add the style prop and set it equal to styles.mapContainer. And for the map view, I'll add style and set it equal to styles.map. With that, let's save this and let's use this component. Let's head over to app.js and let's import it. So import usersMap from /components usersMap. And let's add it below the fetch location component, usersMap, just like that. Now, since we added a library that accesses native device features, I strongly recommend restarting the whole development server. So quit this terminal, you can see it already crashed here and that's pretty normal, and rerun npm run Android. Before you do so, even go so far to close the app here and uninstall it from your device like this. Thereafter, rerun npm run Android to get a clean new build, a new development workflow, and a new version of the app shipped to your simulator. With that restarted, I'll again turn on live reloading and connect my remote JavaScript debugging, and you should see the map. You might also see a bulb